My name is Sam Seymour, and I'm president of the City Bar, and I'm very happy to welcome all of you to our place tonight, to this wonderful panel. You're going to hear very interesting observations about a question that's a very important one, and we are thrilled to see all of you here, and I'm very happy to welcome you. In the advance notice that went out about this program, a number of us have received emails and messages saying how proud people are that we're putting on this program and asking these questions. I can take very little credit for it, but I am glad that we're able to host it tonight. One of the notes I got was in the form of a card that has a New Yorker cartoon on it. And the cartoon, I'm sorry I can't share it with you visually, but there's 5 men sitting in chairs up on a stage in front of a big audience. And the center man, who's the moderator, is saying, the subject of tonight's discussion is why there are no women on this panel. And it's very timely. And the note goes on to say how proud the writer is. It's a member of the profession and a member of this association who says, congratulations on putting on this program and asking this question. All the progress we've made should not be allowed to obscure the fact that such questions remain and must be addressed. So that's what we're here about tonight. It's going to be wonderful. You can see we have a great panel. And I'm very pleased to kick it off by introducing the Chief Judge of our great state, Jonathan Lippman, who is going to then take it from there. So the Chief Judge, please come forward. Thank you.
Great. Well, it's great to be here. This is some crowd, and I'm delighted to be with all of you. I have a number of stops tonight, but I didn't want to miss sort of kicking this off because Judge Mazzarelli asked me to be here, and I do, from my experience in the Appellate Division, I do everything that Judge Mazzarelli tells me to do, and tonight is no different. So I really am pleased to be here, and I think it's really a very interesting subject. I was so pleased when Angie asked me to come because we're going to talk about women lawyers and what could be a better subject. I'm for them. My wife, my daughter, my daughter-in-law are all women lawyers, and I'm very partial to them. And as a feminist, an avowed feminist, I think that it's a very good subject for all of us. I will say that the subject of tonight's event kind of did throw me a little bit. Where are the women in commercial appellate litigation? Because the organizers at least perceive the virtual absence of women litigators, especially in lead roles in the significant commercial cases. So I really look back at my different roles, particularly my last 2 roles in the court system as the presiding justice of the Appellate Division First Department, and now as the Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals. And, you know, I can't really argue with the subject of tonight. I do think that in certain kinds of cases, we do see a lot of women who come to litigate those cases, both when I was at the First Department and now at the Court of Appeals. But I think more so in criminal, family, matrimonial, housing, even torts, we see a lot more women litigators. And I guess it's amazing to me that in this day and age that we really even have this question in front of us. Those of you who went to law school, as I did, in the late 60s, where women were first, coming into their own in the legal profession and starting to be more and more prominent in the different law school classes. I can't believe that 40 years later we'd be asking this question. And based on my own experience in my different roles in the court system, which I'm most familiar with, we see all the progress that women have made. Certainly, when I was the chief administrative judge, I took so much pride in that the leadership of the court system was basically all women. I was the only man in the room, and I liked it that way because I knew all the people who were in the leadership of the court system were the best qualified people, including my predecessor, who just happened to be a woman, who was the Chief Judge, Judith Kaye, the spectacular Judith Kaye. And then on the Court of Appeals, I'm on a court that has 3 out of the 7 members are women. It used to be 4 of 7. The Appellate Division, as we talked about, where I served, had, I think, Angie, 4 at that time. And now there are 7 women on the court, including our wonderful moderator, Richter. And it's a great court, and it's even a greater court because of the presence of so many wonderful women on that court. But it is disturbing when you look at the hard data that that's the underbelly of really this program, really, that the research that's been done at how few women litigators there are in commercial and appellate work in general. And I think it's my own observations are that that's true, that we do notice in the Court of Appeals, if you've ever been in that courtroom, the lawyers are kind of lined up by case, one after the other in the courtroom, and we certainly notice when we come there, and there are sometimes very few women arguing cases, and it sort of jumps out at you, and it really is a subject of discussion. And I think it's fair to say that commercial cases maybe are more so than any others, that there are less women than you would think, particularly compared to the profession and the numbers that are in the profession. So I think there's a lot of questions to ask, and and I don't know what it is. Is it the big law firms that usually are where these commercial cases come from, which have the resources to try major commercial litigation? Certainly over the years, there's been an increase in the number of equity partners, women or equity partners in major law firms, but certainly not up to the proportion of women in the profession. Is it, what is it? Is it the clients that, if you look at the Fortune 500 companies and you look at the CEOs and the people who make decisions are overwhelmingly men? Is it that women who are litigators in the firms, basically, the reality in the world we live in is that women still play the major role in the home? Is it that they're leaving the practice or leaving litigation and instead having other pursuits? I don't know. I know a lot of questions, as we all do, but there are very few answers. So I think it's great that this panel is going to look at that tonight, a distinguished panel. I think that it's a very important issue for our profession because it really doesn't make any sense to me in terms of the talent pool in the legal profession that women shouldn't be arguing major appellate and particularly commercial cases. So I just wanted to sort of stop by, commend the Bar Association, Sam, this panel, for really the bringing a very provocative question as witnessed by this overflow crowd here, which is really great to see. So without any further delay, I'm going to let this great panel get back to work and get down to work. And they, I'm sure, are going to pose at least all of the questions and hopefully provide some great insights and answers to this, I think, quite obvious problem. So great to see all of you. Welcome, Madam Moderator. You're on.
Good evening. I'm Justice Rosalyn Richter, and I'm probably going to be alternating seating and standing, and hopefully you'll be able to see me once I sit down. Thank you so much, Judge Lippman, for making time in your schedule to be here, for your willingness so often to be the only man in the room, and for your commitment to justice and women's issues. So you're all here today for a panel entitled, Where Are the Women in Commercial and Appellate Litigation? And before we go any further, I'd just like you to look to the left and the right, to the back and the front. You're here. That's where the women are. Now, I've done my work. I created the panel title along with the committee, and now I've answered it. You're here, and I'm going to go home. Nope, just kidding. Before we get to the panel, which I hope is going to try to answer Judge Lippman's questions, a few brief, and I mean brief, thank yous are in order. First, to Barbara Apatowski, Martha Harris, and the City Bar for their help with the logistics, and most importantly, for your willingness to take this issue on from the day I picked up the phone call and said the women judges of the First Department have an idea. To the presiding justice of the First Department, Honorable Luis Gonzalez, and our chief clerk, Susana Rojas, who have joined us tonight, I'd like to thank you for the work you both do in the court, for Ms. Rojas and her staff's help in gathering some of the data for tonight, and for your personal support of myself and everyone involved in this project. To my sisters on the First Department, who deserve all the credit for raising this issue first, to our honorary sister, Justice Betty Ellerin, who took on these issues long before any of us were there, I thank you all for your friendship and support, and to my male colleagues from the First Department who are also here, thank you all for your commitment. To all the trial judges, too numerous to mention, who are here tonight from both state court and federal court, your willingness to take time out of your busy schedule to attend means a great deal to me, but more importantly, from the personal messages I have gotten over the last few weeks, let me tell you, I know it means an enormous amount to the lawyers who appear before you and those who would like to appear before you. To Sarah Calagiulio, one of my law clerks, and to Tom Hickey, my other law clerk who is here, thank you for coming. And to Sarah especially, whose tireless and painstaking analysis of the published cases of the First Department was critical to the data compilation you have gotten here today. And she still managed to do all of her other work on top of this. To the Planning Committee, again, I cannot mention you all. I thank you for your support, again, from day one, and for your tireless efforts of emails and phone calls. You all helped to contribute to tonight's turnout. I've been asked many times over the last few weeks, so who thought of this, and why are we really here? The answer is really quite simple, and yet quite profound. We, the women judges of the First Department, and I expect we, every woman judge who is here, and perhaps some of the men judges, we look out on a room that's perhaps not as crowded of this unless you sit in a busy criminal calendar part, but the layout looks about the same. We sit up here, lawyers sit down there. And in the First Department, when the calendar gets called, there are lots of women, and there are lots of people of color. And then you start to notice, nice diverse group on the criminal case, and then an equally diverse group on the family law case, and then a little less diverse group on the slip and falls and the smaller civil case, and then a little less diverse group on the construction accidents, and then the commercial cases. Well, that's why we're here tonight. We noticed, and we'd like to talk about what we've noticed and what we can do about it. As a first step in the planning effort, we had a just terrific breakfast, again hosted by the City Bar in early February, with about 40 women litigators, senior associates, and partners at many of the major and mid-sized firms in New York. Their comments, concerns, and issues will be reflected in the Q&A among the panel once they make their opening remarks. Any of the ideas that I have come up with are attributed to the women who do this work day in and day out.